when Be Quiet reached out to discuss the possibility of putting together some sort of sponsored project centered around their new Silent Base 801 case, I responded that while I don't have anything inherently against sponsored content, and in fact Be Quiet and I have worked together before on a piece, I have to make sure that viewers can take something away from it, and it's not just a fluff piece to show off a bunch of products. They were fully on board with this plan, and what we came up with is a build with a decidedly different focus than what you usually see on this channel. For the most part, when you tune in to watch a PC build on most YouTube channels, including this one, the main focus of the system being put together is gaming. PC gaming drives hardware sales of a lot of the well-known products in the market, and is the reason that everyone knows what acronyms like RTX and VRM mean. However, the vast majority of PCs sold in the world are in fact not used for gaming at all, unless you count someone in a cubicle playing solitaire on their lunch break as gaming. There are certainly many interchangeable components here, but as the focus is on reliability, silence, cooling, and compute performance rather than RGB and FPS, parts choices are made quite differently. So that's actually what we'll be building today. An entry-level, silence-focused, power-efficient workstation with some serious muscle under the hood. As their name implies, Be Quiet is a company that since day one has just kind of been hyper-focused on reducing the noise usually associated with your typical PC tower under full load. Multiple, relatively small fans spinning at thousands of RPM can create quite the racket, and in a workplace this not only can get annoying, but distracting as well. Although in recent years Be Quiet has added some bling to their product lines with available color accenting like the Silent Base 801 here, they continue to stuff as many cracks and crevices with sound dampening foam as reasonably possible, and as a result, they're consistently ranked as some of the quietest cases on the market, which makes them perfect for a workstation build. The Silent Base 801 comes in both windowed and non-windowed versions, and while for a workstation I think I would have preferred to use the version with the full steel side panel, this windowed case still will do just fine. Plus it's what they sent over, so beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. The 801 makes a few significant upgrades from the outgoing Silent Base 800, most notably the addition of a power supply shroud and the elimination of the optical drive bay mounts in favor of significantly increasing storage mounting points. This version also upgrades the small-ish acrylic window for a full tempered glass pane that attaches with a super convenient push-button system. You also get a fan control hub around back along with ample cable management room. The front, top, and right side panel are all equipped with 10mm foam, which is something I don't think any other manufacturers are doing right now. This is all well and good, but as I mentioned before, the main source of noise in a PC are the case fans. So in order to supplement what we already have here with some top-mounted exhaust, we'll be using Be Quiet's Silent Wings 3 fans, a longtime favorite of mine for both static pressure and silent operation. But what CPU are we going to need to keep cool? That would be the new Threadripper 2920X, a 12-core 24-thread part designed specifically for builds just like this. Yes, it's not a cheap processor, but workstations generally are not inexpensive. At $600, it blows away anything Intel offers in this price tier as far as computational ability and sheer number crunching torque, and it will be perfect for workloads involving 3D rendering and modeling. Choosing a motherboard to put it in, however, was definitely not easy. X399 motherboards are straight up spendy, but on the flip side, there's not one of them out there that doesn't bring with it a whole host of cool and useful features. The Asus Prime X399A is one of, if not the cheapest X399 board out there, but it'll still run you about $280. Still though, it's fully loaded with USB ports and storage connection options, It has a USB 3.1 Gen 2 header, surface-mounted power switch, and a postcode readout. Not to mention that I've generally found ASUS boards to be extremely reliable, a definite plus when dealing with a workstation PC. To cool the 2920X, we'll be using Be Quiet's new Dark Rock Pro TR4 cooler. With the same basic design as their excellent Dark Rock Pro 4, the TR4 variant keeps the all-black finish, twin asymmetrical fan configuration, and improved memory height clearance, and also adds on an absurdly large direct contact cold plate, which provides full coverage of the Threadripper IHS. The fans are described as almost inaudible, but we'll be testing that out when the build is complete, as well as, of course, the thermal performance of the cooler itself. One of the things that I admit I probably could have planned a little bit better for is that I don't have any Ecc memory in the office, which is something that workstations generally would really prefer to have. But going out and buying some just for this project would have been enormously costly, so we're going to use the next best thing, and that's a 4x8 gig kit of Crucial's Ballistics Elite. This is a 3200 speed kit that uses Samsung's B-Die modules, which are known to perform better and overclock higher on the Ryzen and Threadripper platforms. The plan right now is to run them at rated speeds to help the Threadripper CCXs communicate across the Infinity Fabric, and that's a sentence that makes sense to very few people in this world, including myself just a few years ago. We don't need a super high-end graphics card with this build, and even though it's true that CUDA acceleration is an important part of some applications, the vast majority of workstation type heavy lifting is done by the CPU. Regardless though, we did want to be able to try to at least take advantage of some of the new NVIDIA architecture on the Turing die, including the Tensor cores and the RT cores. So we're going to use EVGA's RTX 2070 XC Ultra. Now the reason that we're going with this version of a 2070 versus some of the less expensive models is specifically because we are building a silence focused system, and EVGA's cards have ICX technology, meaning that the fans don't have to spin all the time. In fact, most of the time they are completely silent and off, and even when they do spin, sometimes one fan spins and the other doesn't, or they spin at different speeds. And the heatsink itself will mean that most of the heat is just being dissipated off the chip without any airflow having to be generated by the fans. So we're going to keep the noise level at an absolute minimum, and this is definitely going to help us. Our power demands will be handled by Be Quiet's Straight Power 11 650 watt power supply. I've read several articles written by much smarter men than me with the proper testing equipment that have confirmed Be Quiet's claims of superb efficiency and voltage stability from the Straight Power series. And I've always had good experiences as well. Not to mention that it is also 80+ gold rated, fully modular with all black cabling. No build montage for this one as it's not part of our monthly build series. I'm just gonna snap my fingers and move on to testing. Is this thing broken? All right. Even though, of course, aesthetics weren't really the focus here, it's nice to see a system come together so cohesively in the end. The orange accents on the case aren't really all that intrusive, and the fact that the only visible lighting coming from the interior is on the side of the GPU means that there's not a whole lot of in-your-face bling that you'd have to explain to office mates. The matte black finish on the case, fans, cooler, and cabling all make for a subdued, business-like appearance that's kind of a refreshing change of pace from cases full of rainbow vomit. Not that there's anything wrong with that. As our focus was silence, I wanted to see just how quiet we were able to make this system. With the system off and the sound meter placed about a foot away from the side panel glass, ambient noise levels measured about 40 dBA. With the system fully powered up and the front fan controller in position 2 out of 3, this only increased to 41.5 dBA. A remarkably small increase considering that there are 5 total case fans and 2 CPU cooling fans running at all times. In fact, when you take into consideration that you don't generally work with your head pressed up against your tower, Be Quiet's claims of inaudible kind of seemed to be confirmed. I then ran a few tests to see just how well our CPU was being cooled, considering that all that interior foam and the thick glass tends to not lend itself to particularly impressive thermals. When running Cinebench for scores ranging from the 2580s to the 2610s, CPU peak temperature was only 54 C. Impressive results both on the performance end and on the thermal side. I then put the system to work in the Asus Realbench Total System stress test for about an hour. Around minute 52 I checked in and temps were holding steady at 65 Celsius with a peak of 69 Celsius. For an air-cooled 12-core silence-focused case, these are outstanding results. I also ran our workstation through the most appropriate benchmarking software that I could think of, and that's Spec Workstation. With literally every box on the menu checked, Spec Workstation runs through a battery of tests including 7-zip, Blender, Handbrake, Python, storage tests, graphics tests, compute tests, and everything else you could really think of. The test took over an hour and a half, and our Threadripper 2920 wasn't even sweating at the end, staying around 60 C the entire time. The end results were hard to compare, since most systems running this kind of benchmark feature Quadro GPUs, but suffice to say that our scores were in the same ballpark as the vast majority of the leaderboard. So here we have our entry-level workstation running cool, running silent, and slaying compute tasks left and right. I want to say thank you to Be Quiet for sponsoring this build and providing the perfect components really to help us achieve our goals. What would you use a workstation like this for? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, don't forget to get subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Check out the merchandise store linked in the description or become a channel member to support BPS Customs directly. As always, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.